Shenzhou 23 set to take off tonight with Hong Kong astronaut on board. Crowds head to Chengchao to experience the annual parade. And rescue continues after coal mine gas explosion leaves 82 dead in northern China. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Preparation is underway ahead of the Shenzhou 23 crewed spacecraft's launch tonight. Here's a look at what's happening at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center as the mission is set into motion. Memo Singai reports.
At 11:08 p.m. tonight, the Shenzhou 23 using the Long March 2 FY-23 carrier rocket will launch from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in northwest China. On Saturday afternoon, authorities completed the propellant filling work for the rocket ship combination. Spacecraft monitoring is another key aspect of the preparation. Authorities need to pay a close attention to the combination's propellant leak concentration, propellant temperature, and tank internal pressure. An expert says the status of Shenzhou 23 is good and the rocket system has fulfilled all launching requirements. Compared to the previous spacecraft, the Long March 2 FY-23 carrier rocket has undergone 16 technical transformations, improving its reliability and safety. Personnel from all systems are at the launch site for the final process. Spacecraft engineers enter the capsule to inspect and load uplink payloads. By 9 p.m., 4 sets of rotating platforms used to enclose the spacecraft will open one by one. Moments 9, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee conducts a video call with Hong Kong's first payload specialist, Lai Ka-ying, ahead of the Shenzhou 23 manned spaceflight mission. The cruise spaceship will launch at 11:08 tonight. The CE released a video call footage on social media this morning. In the call, Lee offers his best wishes to Lai. The Hong Kong astronaut says she is confident the mission will be completed successfully, adding she has never been away from the city for such a long time and looks forward to returning home. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry Sun Dong and Secretary for the Civil Service Ingrid Yeung also joined the call. Today marks the Chengchao Bun Festival. Since this morning, the island has been buzzing with spectacles and float parade. Another highlight event, the Bun Scrambling competition, will be held around midnight tonight. Celine Chan reports.
The Music Parade this year features over 20 floats traveling through the island's streets and alleys. Leading the way is the drama-inspired Justice Goddess. Some transformed into little athletes, including several representatives of the Hong Kong football team and cyclist Lee Si-wing, who claimed 3 gold medals in last year's national games. The parade has also seen some satires about current affairs. From the all prices to the $2 fare policy. A financial secretary also handed out sweets to the public, alongside several other principal officials.
The lawyer is my favorite character. First time, because usually in bank holidays we travel, but this weekend we stay here and we love it. It's so amazing, so much fun.
The parade team loves interacting with the crowd. This keychain and candy in my hand were all given to us by them. Every year during the Chengchao Bun Festival, a long line outside this shop selling buns could be seen. This man bought 10 buns per flavor for his wife, grandson, and friends. This woman even waited for 3 hours to buy one. The bakery expects to sell 60,000 buns this year, similar to last year. The waterfront street outside Chengchao Pier is packed with people all day long. The boutique manager says foot traffic was better than expected. In previous years, people didn't shop this early. Some cafes also offer promotions to attract customers. To ease crowds, the ferry company has increased the frequency of trips between Central and Chengchao, with the last ferry from Chengchao to Central departing at 1:15 a.m. Celine Chan, TVB News.
And reporter Celine Chan is still out there in Cheung. Celine, what's it like out there on the island now?
Oh yes, indeed. The atmosphere here at the Cheung Paktais Temple Playground is very electric. So it's just we're just less than 5 hours away from the Cheung Bun Scrambling Competition final, which is set to take place at midnight tonight. And over 1,000 tickets will be handed out to spectators starting from 10 p.m. tonight. And the spectators will be allowed to make their way in starting from 10:30. But as we can see, the crowds are already very excited over the much anticipated finals. So we'll be right here bringing you all the updates on the final. But as for now, we'll pass the time back to the studio first.
And we will have more updates tonight on the bun scrambling competition. Stay with us. Meanwhile, today is Buddha's birthday. The Hong Kong Buddhist Association hosts a Buddha bathing ceremony at the Hong Kong Coliseum to mark the occasion. Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan and Secretary for Home and Youth Affairs Alice Mack are among the officials who attended the ceremony. In his speech, Chan says Buddhism and the government share a common goal to construct a harmonious society. The ceremony is a sacred Buddhist ritual featuring a baby Buddha statue standing in a basin of water. Worshippers pour water over the statue to symbolize spiritual purification. Some residents buy fish to release into the ocean on Buddha's birthday, believing it can help them generate good karma. At North Point Pier this morning, a resident was seen releasing a fish into the sea. Some people place fish in buckets and trays. Buddhists believe the live release practice can generate merit with the gods and give them a longer and more prosperous life. The Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department distributes leaflets to passers-by, urging them not to release animals into the wild. The department says live release could affect animal survival and lead to adverse impacts on the ecosystem. Under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Ordinance, individuals who cause unnecessary suffering to animals by releasing them in an improper manner can face fines up to $200,000 and be sent behind bars for 3 years. Today marks the birthday of Tam Kung, a sea deity of local fishermen. A celebratory parade in Shao Kei Wan draws large crowds of locals and tourists. Samantha Lee was there to experience the festivities.
50 parade teams set off from the Factory Street Playground, marching along Shao Kei Wan Main Street towards their final destination at the Tam Kung Temple. Revelers gathered to partake in lion and dragon dances. Among those participating in the parade is a child dressed as a table tennis player to celebrate China's sweep of both men's and women's team titles at the World Team Table Tennis Championships in London. The scorching heat did not dampen the excitement of the revelers. Some watched from elevated positions above the streets. The Director of Home Affairs Priscilla To, District Officer for the Eastern District Simon Chan are among the officials at the event. Tam Kung was a native of Guishan in Huizhou, Guangdong, who possessed the supernatural power to control the weather and cure illnesses. The Tam Kung Festival is celebrated every year on the 8th day of the 4th lunar month. This lady notes the show was incredibly lively and hopes the event will continue to bring more joy to the public for years to come. Another attendee, Mr. Ng, says the most spectacular part of the parade was the dragon dance, adding he was lucky enough to touch the dragon's body and head as it was parading past. Meanwhile, Mr. Zhang wishes for peace and prosperity in Hong Kong, expressing his hopes for an end to global conflicts, and that Donald Trump will effectively handle cross-strait issues. This boy says he hopes to score full marks on all of his exams.
Apart from the massive parade, spectators are getting a taste of the festival with this Tam Kung fortune cake, headed out to spread blessings of peace and prosperity to everyone here today. Samantha Lee, TV News.
Mainland authorities continue to search for 2 missing individuals following a coal mine gas explosion in Shanxi province that left 82 dead and 128 injured. Authorities say the toxicity level in the mine tunnels has lowered since the initial explosion Friday. Rescue operation continues at the Liushengyu coal mine. Local authorities are deploying about 330 members from the National Mine Emergency Rescue Team to the scene. According to CCTV, the rescue operation faces difficulties after the explosion on Friday night due to the standing water in the mine tunnels. The state media also says the explosion reveals issues within the mine safety management. The number of miners working underground on the night of the accident was 247, but official records only logged 124 workers. And still ahead, Trump says peace deal with Iran is on the horizon. World Health Organization budgets $319 million to fight the Ebola outbreak in Africa. And a gunman is killed after an attempt to breach White House checkpoint. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei all suggest progress is being made on a peace agreement between Washington and Tehran. Daniel Rao tells us more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. and Iran are getting a lot closer to finalizing an agreement between the two countries, CBS News reported. The latest proposal includes a process to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, the unfreezing of some Iranian assets held in foreign banks, and a continuation of negotiations, according to the CBS report. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio echoes Trump's sentiments during a 4-day visit to India. Rubio says the U.S. and its Gulf partners have made progress towards an agreement that could reopen the Strait of Hormuz and address concerns over Iran's nuclear ambitions.
So we've made some progress over the last 48 hours working with our partners in the Gulf region on an outline that could ultimately, if it succeeds, leave us not just with a completely open straits, and I mean open straits without tolls, and with addressing some of the key things that underpin what has been Iran's nuclear weapons ambitions in the past. So we think we've made some progress on the outline of something that, if it works, could give us that outcome. Obviously, that will require full Iranian acceptance and then compliance, and it will require some future work on negotiating the details.
Meanwhile, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghei describes the draft as a framework agreement. He says Iran wants this to include the main issues required for ending the imposed war and other issues of essential importance. Baghei says hopefully a deal could be reached over a reasonable time span between 30 to 60 days. Iran's official RNA news agency quoted Baghei as saying Tehran's and Washington's positions on key issues have moved closer in recent days. Elsewhere, the UK is gearing up to lead a 40-nation framework to deploy autonomous vehicles to detect and identify mines and clear the seabed under the Strait of Hormuz once a peace deal is reached. AP was shown autonomous systems which can scan the seabed and the water above it with sonar in about half the time it takes for a crewed vessel to enter and map potential dangers. Some of the systems can be loaded onto an autonomous vehicle launched from the ship, reducing the need for so many people to enter a minefield. Daniel, TV News.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia used a powerful hypersonic Oreshnik ballistic missile during a mass drone and missile attack on Kyiv, killing at least 2 people. This marks the 3rd time the weapon has been used in the 4-year war. Daniel Rao has the story.
Air raid sirens blared through the night as smoke billowed across Kyiv from strikes on Sunday. Associated Press reporters heard powerful explosions near the center of the Ukrainian capital and close to government buildings. Damage has been recorded in 40 locations across several of the city's districts, including residential buildings. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko says a school building was damaged by an attack while people sheltered inside. Local authorities report shops and warehouses across the city were also damaged. Multiple communities record damage throughout the Kyiv region, according to Mykola Kalashnik, the regional governor. The Ukrainian Air Force says air defenses destroyed and jammed 549 drones and 55 missiles. Around 19 missiles failed to reach targets. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the Oreshnik, which is capable of carrying nuclear or conventional warheads, struck the city of Biela Tserkva in the Kyiv region. Russia first used the multiple warhead Oreshnik on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro in November 2024. It was used a second time in January in the western Lviv region. Russian President Vladimir Putin says the Orezhnik, which means hazelnut tree in Russian, streaks at 10 times the speed of sound, or Mach 10, and is capable of destroying underground bunkers 3, 4 or more floors down. Putin says the weapons are immune to any missile defense system, adding several such missiles, even fitted with conventional warheads, could be as devastating as a nuclear strike. Dan Rao, TV News.
Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado says she will run for the Venezuelan presidency and intend to return to her home country before the end of 2026. This while the U.S. military conducts a rapid response exercise in Caracas, more than 4 months after the ouster of then-President Nicolas Maduro. Gloria Feng has more.
2 Osprey aircraft flew over the recently reopened U.S. Embassy in Caracas on Saturday. They landed in the parking lot, with military personnel seen disembarking. Dozens gather at a lookout point above the embassy. Some got rather emotional about what they consider U.S. help to let the country move forward. Others in the city are disgusted by the drill. These government supporters say the U.S. was showing off their military superiority to humiliate the people. Another group of supporters opposing the drill say they are also against the present government. All of this happened while Nobel laureate Maria Machado met with her supporters at a Panama City rally also on Saturday. She announces she will run for president and intend to return home before the end of 2026. She tells the media she and other opposition leaders remain committed to a democratic transition. However, it is unclear when the next election will take place in Venezuela. Gloria Feng, TVB News.
The World Health Organization and the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention detail a 6-month Ebola response plan to tackle outbreaks in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. Backed by a $319 million budget, the plan covers all 55 African Union member states. Of the total budget, $265 million is allocated for outbreak response in the DRC and Uganda, while $54 million will go towards preparedness efforts in 10 high-risk African countries. The plan also notes the biggest shortcoming in the continent's preparedness for the current Ebola outbreak is the lack of licensed vaccines and drugs. As a result, prevention and control efforts will rely mainly on infection prevention and control measures, isolation of cases, contact tracing, and community engagement. The DRC government reported 867 suspected Ebola cases and 204 suspected deaths, while Uganda's Ministry of Health reported 3 new confirmed Ebola cases as of Saturday. U.S. Secret Service kills a gunman attempting to breach a White House security checkpoint. The White House was on lockdown as authorities respond to the event. This marks the 3rd gunfire incident in the vicinity of U.S. President Donald Trump in a month. Gloria Feng has more.
The U.S. Secret Service says the shooter was in the area of 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue when he pulled a weapon from his bag shortly after 6 p.m. and began firing. Officers returned fire and hit the suspect, who died at a hospital. A bystander was also struck, but a law enforcement official says it was not clear whether the person was hit by the suspect's initial bullets or those fired subsequently by officers. The suspect has been identified as 21-year-old Nasir Best. According to District of Columbia court records, Best was arrested in July 2025 after he attempted to enter a different White House checkpoint without authorization. He did not heed officers' command to stop, claiming to be Jesus Christ and that he wanted to be arrested. An initial hearing was held and a pre-trial stay-away order was issued, prohibiting him from going near the White House. A bench warrant was later issued in August after a notice of non-compliance against Best, who did appear for a subsequent hearing. U.S. President Donald Trump was at the White House during the incident, marking the 3rd time in a month where gunfire was exchanged within his vicinity. Secret Service says Trump was not affected by the incident. The president originally scheduled to spend the weekend at his New Jersey golf club, but changed his plans on Friday to stay at the White House instead. Gloria Feng, TVB News.
Governor of the U.S. state of California declares a state of emergency in Orange County following a chemical leak at the GKN Aerospace plant in Garden Grove. No injuries have been reported so far. Governor Gavin Newsom says in a statement the state was deploying all available resources to support responders and affected communities as crews rushed to cool down an overheated tank containing volatile industrial chemicals less than a mile away from 2 Disneyland theme parks. Temperatures inside the tank has topped 30 degrees Celsius on Saturday, up from 25 degrees the prior day, raising stakes that the pressure could rise enough to compromise structural integrity, according to authorities. A catastrophic failure may lead to a large spill or powerful explosion. Both carry risks of toxic exposure of methyl methacrylate vapor, environmental contamination, and secondary fires. Sandbags and earth barriers have been set up to prevent runoff from entering storm drains, rivers, or coastal waters if the tank fails. Expanded evacuation orders are in place affecting around 50,000 residents in portions of Southern California. Emergency shelters remain open for the displaced. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.